My name is Dr. Tillery. Welcome again to Real Talk with Roberta's House. Um, Today is going to be the topic can be challenging, it can be depressing, but I think it can also bring about a lot of awareness. So we're going to talk about the impact of homicide on our survivors, and we're going to look at Baltimore City as well as Prince George's County. So today's guest, of course, we have Doreen Turan, who's our program manager for the Survivor Homicide Program in Baltimore City. Miss Yolanda Nelson Swain, she's the program manager for our program in Prince George's County. And we have two special guests today. These are two homicide survivors that have worked with us, and they have participated in some things with Roberta's House. So our first guest is Mr. Daryl Harrison. Mr. Daryl Harrison, he has taken his loss and he's using it, and he's changing lives. I think I would say that, Mr. Harrison. I think that you're bringing a lot of awareness to what's happening in our community, particularly as it relates to homicidal loss. You have a live show in Prince George's County, myself and Yolanda participating in the show, and you're bringing awareness again to homicidal loss. So we want to welcome you, Mr. Harrison. And also, Miss LaWan Edmonds. Miss LaWan Edmonds has been here with us before, and she too has also had a loss. She lost her daughter. She's also bringing about awareness. She's participated in several of our homicide transformation program group sessions, and I have watched her grow and have watched her actually become an advocate for survivors of homicide. So let's get started. I gave you guys a brief introduction, but I want to have you guys introduce yourself. And I want you to introduce yourself from the perspective of either working with some survivors of homicide or actually having that experience. And I'm going to start with staff first. I'm going to go to Ms. Nelson Swain. Yolanda, can you talk to us a little bit about your passion and why you work with survivors of homicide in Prince George's County?
My passion, I would say, is to be able to help people to heal from loss. I've experienced multiple losses. I've had homicides to occur in my family. I lost a nephew to homicide. So it really rings within my soul, and I want to just do what I can to be able to help individuals to be able to heal from such a tragic loss.
Right. Well, thank you and welcome, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
This was last minute for you that I've asked you to join us, so thank you. Ms. Doreen Turan, can you talk to us about your passion? Because you're in Baltimore City, where we're seeing an increase, and we're going to talk about that shortly, and the numbers of homicide continue to rise. So what keeps you interested in working with this special population?
Well, my passion is also assisting families. I feel empathy for them. I enjoy giving them hope sometimes when people feel hopeless. So I really enjoy that piece.
Okay.
Working with families.
Thank you. So I know you talked about, you gave some data a little bit earlier, and I want you to expand upon that we currently, as of today, yes, we don't know what's going to happen and how this is going to end tonight, but I think we're up to 214 homicides in Baltimore City, which is alarming. I think you'll share that data with us and what it looked like in 2020 around the same time. I think most of us was under the impression that, there's a pandemic going on. So of course, we may not be faced with these type of issues, but it continues to increase. So can you give us some more data on the homicides in Baltimore City, and maybe some insight on why you think that the homicides continue to rise in Baltimore City, even in the midst of a pandemic?
Mm-hmm. Well, in 2019, the same time from January through August of 2019, we had 225 homicides. So as of today, which is June the 26th, we have 214 homicides. As you can see, the homicides have been, we're running neck to neck so far. Why have the homicides increased? That's a good question, Dr. Hillary. Very good question.
It is a good question, right? So maybe we'll learn something from our guests today.
Yes.
Let me go back to Yolanda. Yolanda, I know it's difficult sometimes to get the accurate data in Prince George's County as it relates to the number of homicides. I know we kind of struggle back and forth and trying to work with different people to get some data. But what would you say right now is the number of homicides in Prince George's County based on your research?
From what I was able to find today, as of now in 2020, 51 homicides. Last year, there was a total of 74 from what I was able to gather. I don't think that's an accurate number. I think because of the different municipalities, I don't think they're all joining into this one number for Prince George's County, but that's the records that I was able to find.
Okay. And also, can you talk a little bit, because Prince George's County, it's a different culture than Baltimore City, and I hear that a lot. I can't say PG to someone who's in Prince George's County. I have to say Prince George's County. So, the more I've been in Prince George's County, the more I learn about Prince George's County. So what do you think is adding to or fueling the homicides and the number of homicides in Prince George's County?
I think, in my opinion, and this is just my thoughts, loss of jobs, loss of family structure. I think there's a number of different reasons why crime has increased. I really don't know the actual reality of it. I can just give you my thoughts or my opinions on it, and that's two things that I'm thinking of. And then when you throw in the pandemic, of course, we know that people have lost their jobs and people are desperate. They're trying to take care of their families. And things happen if there's, whatever type of crime that is occurring. Just my thought process.
I agree. I think as we start to look at the numbers rise in Prince George's County as well as Baltimore City, we're looking at the number of people who've been traumatized. And this when I talk about trauma, I'm talking about a psychologically wounded. And this type of trauma does not go away overnight. It's with us for a long time, and it becomes intergenerational. It passes on from generation to generation. So these are what we are dealing with today is definitely going to have a significant impact on generations coming behind us, particularly if we don't come up with some type of intervention on how that we can start to look at this a little bit deeper and kind of offer some insight. So there is one thing that pinpoints why we're seeing these increases. And we could go back and we can look at the oppression. We can look at our community's lack of access to resources. We can look at a lot of different things, but is that one cause of the homicidal loss? So I want to go and turn my attention to Mr. Harrison. Mr. Harrison, you talk about this a lot on your live show. As a matter of fact, we had an opportunity and was blessed to be a part of your show at one particular time in talking about homicidal loss. I know you lost your son in May of 2016. So take us back to that day. Take us back to the time that you heard about the loss of your son and where you were. We talk about psychologically wounded, where you were then to where you are today.
Just like deja vu when I was down there at Roberta House and y'all had me. I just got to the point now that speaking about it, I guess at first, when I first came, when this first happened to me, and it wasn't a year yet before I was up with Darrell Harrison Crime Victim Foundation. And what I'm finding out now is that I never got a chance to grieve when I jumped in it so fast. And now I'm beginning to grieve about things that I never even really looked at. So going back to May the 4th of 2016, we was all in the house enjoying our self-had company, eating crabs. My son went out with his friends. He called me about maybe an hour later saying he was at American Best Wings. And he was getting something to eat and he wanted to check on us. Did we want something? We like, no, we good. We'll see you in a while. At that time, About 15 minutes later, I got a call from my cousin that was with my son saying that Daryl been shot and he was at Southern Maryland Hospital. So we, historically jumping up, screaming and hollering, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Because that was always one of my fierce nightmares. And on the way down there, my cousin called me crying, saying they shot him in the head. So now we hear it's a head wound. We get down there and my baby wrapped up, his face completely wrapped up because the bullet caused 2 holes in his head. Mm-hmm. And only thing was open was his right eye, which was staring backwards. And I knew he was gone with that one. He was on life support. They was trying to transport him to another hospital. His friends picked him up at the crime scene and took him to Southern Maryland Hospital, looking to save his life. But it could have hurt him more than anything because Southern Maryland Hospital is not a trauma center. Okay. So all they could do was bandage him up. They wanted to send him to Washington Hospital Center, but as they couldn't medevac him because it was cloudy. So they was looking at sending an EMS vehicle there. By the time they got there, his heart had stopped beating 3 times. And, they was like, you got to come and say goodbye. We have revived him 3 times and it was devastating. I mean, to leave that hospital with him laying there, and the thing that stays in my head though, the whole time I'm holding him. I'm at the top of his head, holding him, kissing him, because I got to say goodbye to my only son. Mm-hmm. And just when, everybody was leaving out, I reached back for his hand and the detective told me that I couldn't touch him. And usually, I don't know, I just felt bad about it and I walked out. I was out there with my daughter, all his friends. We was in the group hugging one another. And me and my wife was up for 5 days straight. Mm-hmm. We never even went to sleep. 5 or 6 days we went to sleep. I drink wine occasionally. During this time, I drank from the time of his murder till about maybe late 2017, early 2017, I drank 3 to 4 bottles of wine a day to go to sleep. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, all I can do was see his one eye open. It was terrible. I wanted vengeance. I became homicidal. I was caught up. I couldn't understand why God allowed this to happen to my son. And I was mad. And then when we went, the process of going to court just pissed me off. I was mad because, how people say it's a criminal justice, and the criminals seem to have more rights than the victim family did. Mm-hmm. They got to do what they wanted to do in that courtroom, especially with a well-paid lawyer. His family hired a lawyer named Tom Mooney. He was a top defense attorney lawyer, $40,000, and he just kept postponing cases. They was playing mind game while we were suffering in pain. Though what we learned the first night, the day he was killed, they already knew who did it. It was on camera. They had his signature on the credit card. But when they went to arrest him, he got away from them. And I found that out through other people. And when I asked the detective, he told me no, it didn't happen. So when they caught him 30 days later in Atlanta, Georgia, where his mother sent him to hide him down a family member house, and we got the call, and it just went on from there. And I mean, my blood pressure shot up. I was having headaches every day. They said he was going to plead guilty. Then they said he wasn't going to plead guilty. Defense attorney the prosecutor telling me that he don't work for me. He worked for Prince George's County. They're going to get whatever they want, whatever they can get. And that's what I realized. And they talk about this thing called, I forget, I can't even get the system out right now, but there's a guideline of what they can give somebody when you want them to have life. And in that process, I end up on all types of medical pills. I was taking Seroquel, 200 milligrams of Seroquel a night just to go to sleep. I used every pill possible just to get some sleep. And no. And after that, and then I back and forth through the court hearing. And after we got to the point where he was pled guilty, we went to court. I couldn't handle it in the courtroom because in the courtroom, they come back with the whole story, everything. Even at that time, I didn't even know what type of gun he was shot with. So they had escort me out of the courtroom because I got to hyperventilating. I don't know what happened. I just knew I wanted to get him. So they took me out the courtroom. And when the lawyer left out, I watched him from the time he watched me watch him walk through the hallway. And I was looking at him and how you can defend this guy. And then we went to sentencing October the 20th of 2017, which is a year and a half later almost. His family treated us like we done something to them. Nobody never, sorry about the noise with the dog. No one never apologized. I think because I stayed out of the courtroom because I knew I could not handle this. I knew that I was going to do something. And so first of all, we supposed to went first to talk, then them. And I wonder what's taking long. They let them go first. They let the defense family go first and tell how they feel. We don't think he should go to jail that long. He got a kid on the way and all this and that. But I'm glad I wasn't in there to hear it. So when I went in there, I didn't know they went first until I learned. And then when I spoke, I mean, nobody said nothing. His family never said nothing to us. They was more on the defense in there. And so finally they sentenced him. He agreed to it. I mean, I'm banging on, you know, that stand in front of me. I'm banging on it and I'm shaking it. And Maryland Crime Victim Resource Center people that I dealt with was all around me. And I was done. And then they was like, we had to leave the courtroom. It was all over with. And they wanted us to leave the courtroom so we won't be involved. I'm like, I'm trying to fight all of them. Mm-hmm. I don't care. Y'all, your son, 21 years old, never finished high school, got a record as long as anybody else at the age as youth, and y'all allow him to run around with a gun. And then you don't have the right to apologize to people. After that, I became very much homicidal. At that time, I had designed my truck, and I wanted to take my truck, and I wanted to go to his mother's house, put a helmet on and a shoulder pad, and rub my engine all the way up till I can get to 100, and then let it loose and go right through his front door out the back. Didn't care who was in the center, didn't care. They had me on pills to go to sleep, pills to wake up. My wife explained to me I was at one point in time that she'll keep checking on me because I was just sitting in one spot staring. But I don't realize this. As I stopped taking that medicine, I went through panic attacks. I never had panic attacks before. Even when people told me they had panic attacks, I was like, how can you be, how can panic attacks bother you? A girl told me that when hers come along, she'll stand still in the store and her husband will grab her and walk out. And I'm like, that's strange. But I went through it. I was able to go through car wash and do anything I want to do. After that murder with my son, I'm on my way driving through a car wash. Sit in the car, listen to the music, just go through the car wash. I almost killed myself jumping out of my truck before I went into this tunnel. And couldn't understand it. Almost killed myself where I was not going to be touched. Now, every room I went in, I couldn't shut the door. I mean, everything was just, I started having panic attacks in my sleep at night. Mm-hmm. And I was praying to get past this because it was really I didn't think that I was going to return. I didn't think that I was going to return to insanity after that courtroom hearing. And I was on 6 months of family leave. And as I continue my work, I continue my work in Darrell Harrison Crime Victim Foundation. And I started throwing concerts. I started having events. I started in DC. I was in Maryland and I was doing everything. Then I came down to the Yah and I just watched God prosper me in my life because after my son got killed, I told him, you said, I know God. I was going to church. And I said, you said that you wouldn't, the plans you had for me was not to harm me, but I felt harm. You said that you wouldn't put more on me than I could bear. Then why did you think letting my son get killed that I could bear it? I said, but if you allow me to abide under the shadow of your wings and restore me, and I will serve you. As of the day now, In my 3rd year of radio show. I'm in my 4th year of my foundation. I'm doing my own networking. My life has been completely turned over into ministry now and surrender. And all this is in the last 4 years. And but the trauma remains. At any time you want to visit it, you're gonna visit it. Anytime and I walk by my son's room, he's not there no more. I don't see him no more. I get dreams vaguely of him. And when in the dreams, what bothers me in the dreams, I'm hugging him, I'm kissing him, but I'm conscious enough to let him know you're not in my world no more. But I'm conscious. And I mean, everybody would tell you I would never wish this on my worst enemy. And there only been so much murder that I'm so much involved in with Prince George's County and DC, where I go out to crime scenes. I go out to murder scenes. I was just at 1-2 weeks ago where Christopher Brown was just killed in Southeast DC at a block party. Me and his mother talked. I donated, did whatever I can do to help people. I do anything to help people. If they need counseling, I was sending them to Roberta House in Maryland. If it's in DC, I send them somewhere else. But I became overburdened with it. I got tired. Last year in 2019, I was tired. I wanted to quit. I wanted to stop everything. I didn't want to do it no more. I just got tired of hearing the murders and going to murder scenes and seeing the casket and the balloon release. And my wife said, Daryl, you promised Daryl. And then God told me that he has given me this platform for him, not for me. And that's when I transferred my life and did the right thing. And this Saturday, I'm at my first men conference to teach about the man in the mirror, about my triumph over this tragedy in my life. And that's how far God brought me to where I'm at. And like you said, you never get healed. It ain't something that you forget. It's something you get used to. And every year go by, we got to count his years. And I tell people, when I interview mothers or talk to them, I can talk to a mother that lost their kid 30 years ago and then speak to one that lost their kid a week ago, and it's the same emotional effect. It never changed. Some people can't return from it. Some people can't even do what we do. I talk to them, and they're like, I still talk to Demetrius, Miss, you know what I'm talking about. When we talk, she still have not been able to do a show yet. And she always tell me when she ready, she gonna call you. I'm like, well, call her. Let's get it done. And we still talk every day. Being that I'm on Facebook, I see mothers that post to a point that pain they posting all day long. My heart hurt. I don't feel good. I miss my son. They crying. And if you ain't never been there, you won't understand it. And I have met some mothers who have lost kids that knew other mothers, and they be like, well, she cried too much. I can't be around her. She always depressed. And I was like, wow, it was a difference between mothers who couldn't get along, but you both lost a child. And this is all the stuff I experience now. And that's why I tell people, Daryl Hurson beat to his own drum. I stay in my lane. I don't partnership with nobody because I don't want nothing to go wrong. And some people do it for different reasons. I found mothers who I met did it for publicity, for fame, for money, and everything. And I was like, why? Why would you want to take that? But people are going to be people. But today, like I said, I'm taking my radio show to the streets for the first time in Washington, D.C. I'm going to every urban neighborhood where there are drugs and violence at. And people say, well, Daryl, be careful. I'm like, when I ran with the devil, I wasn't scared. And I'm running with God, and I'm not scared at all now. So I'm going to these corners. I'm going to do my show an hour and a half. I'm not trying to hold the event. I got council members coming out that's going to do all 4 weeks of shows with me. I'm going to feed them free. And we're going to minister, because a lot of people think, and they know we're not fighting against flesh and blood. This is a spiritual war. And if you don't mind me answering the question asked earlier, the upbringing of our youth today is getting out of hand. And like Yolanda said, we don't have programs, but it's more of an upbringing now. These kids are bitter about something in their life. It's daddy issue, mama issue. The youngest boy that I seen so far was 14 years old, killed a grown man in the store, messing around with some friends on the 1500 block of Pennsylvania Avenue South. He was 14 years old. He pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just devastating because I get to talk to these mothers and they crying and you know, I'd rather send them to you or Yolanda. You know, Yolanda, I think how many people I sent you by now? About 4 or 5. Have they been coming? They need it.
Yes, you have sent us about four people. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I know living without him is hard, but I got to keep going. I got to keep going. I miss him. He was my only son. I had 3 daughters who was older. He was the baby, you know, and he gone. And then everybody always calling me, Daryl, you're known all around the world now, and everybody know your name and you on the TV. I told them that don't mean nothing to me. I lost my son. None of this can get him back. Only thing it do for me though, it keeps me healed. Helping others heals me. You know what I'm saying? One of these days, I'm gonna get to make one of y'all classes and get a bereavement license down the line. But meanwhile, I will always continue to send my people to y'all for y'all services and everything. I like that. And y'all send a lift to get people. People ain't got to try to find a way there.
Right.
They ain't got to try to find a way there. The only thing that I ran across that I think it was one lady that lived in DC, but because her son was killed in Maryland, you were still able to take her. But if they was killed in DC, y'all wasn't able to take them.
Yeah.
And that's what I run into. But we got a lot of work to do. Is it going to change? I don't know. It seems as though it's a spirit of death is on the earth. If you read the Bible more, you'll see what it is. 2 Timothy chapter 3. We're living in the perilous time. And this is what I'm trying to go to the streets. I'm tired of going to the streets with the police. They ain't doing nothing. The governor, they ain't doing nothing. The mayor, nobody is doing nothing but talking. They're not going to get out there and get their hands dirty with these people. And I understand they're afraid. But the point is, if we start trying to approach this thing with voices and give more action, we can probably help a kid. And like they say, right now, I'm setting up my mentor vocational program. My son's friends was mechanics. They went to Suitland to take a mechanic. They own their own shop. They just put the shop in his name and in Capitol Heights, Maryland. And I'm going to Capitol Heights Mayor to see if we can train 5 kids every 6 months in the state of Maryland in Capitol Heights for them to get their mechanic license to start something to build up and keep going.
That is absolutely wonderful. Daryl, your testimony, like everybody, I think is just on standstill right now. It is riveting when I hear you talk about your son, when I hear you, I mean, you're just, from the first time I met you until now, you seem like a different person. You're in a different place. You know, you even look different, you sound different. Somebody would have had to have known you from the time I met you. I think that was, what, 2 years ago, Yolanda? Yeah. It's just to see and to hear about the great things that you're doing, because homicide is like no other. You know, when I hear you talk about some of your symptoms, that's post-traumatic stress. You know, when you have the insomnia, when you have the panic attacks, when you relive the event over and over again. You know, when we go through something that's traumatizing, whether it's directly related to us or indirectly related to us, it causes us to have stress. And that doesn't go away overnight. You know, we are forever wounded psychologically when we go through something as devastating as losing a child and losing it to homicide. It's a different type of loss. It shatters individuals, it shatters families, and it shatters communities. So we hear you, you know, but to hear what you're doing in the community, to hear how you're helping people, you're going out, and even in your pain, you're reaching out to other people in pain, and you're getting your healing from within. So I am just in amazement. I am just proud of you, and I just hear you and listen to you to some of the things that we're doing. But we have a lot of work to do. So we will continue to work together. So even in the legacy of Daryl, we will continue to work on in his legacy. I thank you for sharing that testimony. We'll definitely come back to you. And Yolanda's down there. She's smiling because she too, she remembers and she understands.
Yes.
She always think about you and what you're doing.
Yes, she do. She called me all the time.
Yeah, so we're just loving on you.
PG. We working together. We getting a lot of mothers done in PJ. Right now, there've been so many murders in DC that I can't bring them there to y'all because there's murders in DC. But remember, Yolanda, I contact you and ask you, how can I get Roberta House into DC? See, I'm not interested in becoming nobody counselor or anything. I'm gonna help, but this is what y'all do, and I'm gonna let y'all do it. So I don't know how we can, but you know, I'm a 501(c) now, and I'm soliciting for grants to get a building in PG. But if y'all work with me, I can get a building in DC, and let's move forward and take over. Well, I mean, they're gonna need it.
That sounds great.
Over. But
that sounds great.
People are suffering. Murder is a suffering thing, and people tell you, well, when I lost my mother, losing someone and someone like being taken from you is two totally different things. We're not losing our kids. Our kids was taken by another hand. So there's no comparison in the loss. I know the love you have for your mom and dad, you're gonna miss them. But when your child is suddenly taken away from you, a child that you raised from birth and protect and hold, and somebody snatch them out of their life for their foolishness. Because remember, my son was just an innocent bystander. Yeah. Nobody else got hit. And I get tired of people. If you don't know what to say, don't say nothing. It's okay. Just tell me, I'm sorry. Don't tell me I can understand your feeling when you can't. Don't tell me that he in a better place. Don't tell me that, well, what would Daryl want you to do? He wouldn't want you to be sad. Don't tell me these things. Just say I'm sorry.
And just be there, right? Those are all cliches that we talk about when and we teach people what not to say when people lose someone. Daryl, thank you so much. And you're saying a lot. And Miss Lawan is over there. She's shaking her head. I know she's on fire because I know she has a testimony similar to your testimony when you talk about mothers who have lost a son. And this is a great thing because we're not only talking to the mother, we're also talking to a male who's lost his son. So to hear a male's perspective just open up a whole another door for us. So I appreciate you sharing this. Now we're going to move to Lawan. But what I'm going to do is because after I leave this format, I will be jumping on another format where I'll be talking about race relations. So I will probably jump off, but Yolanda will guide the rest of this show for us. Okay. But I'll still be here for a little while. But I appreciate you guys for doing this. So to Lawan, you've been so active also in telling your story about your daughter. You've been a spokesperson sometimes for Roberta's House, but we've asked you to do certain things. So take us back. And I hate to get off the call. I may have to get off, but I've heard your story, but I enjoy hearing your story. Take us back to 2019, I think it was, when you lost your daughter.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
My daughter was killed August the 3rd, 2019, on a Saturday afternoon. She was gonna move Friday. She came to my house on a Friday, on the 3rd. She was moving into a new place, and I was proud of her because she kept on wanting to move and all that. And I was washing her clothes, her blankets up and stuff like that. And I told her, come on out here because when you move for Saturday, I want you to come and get me. She said, okay, Ma, okay. But it was just something strange about the feeling I was having for the last 3-4 months, and I couldn't understand what it was. However, she came out Friday evening. She was here for 1 to 5, 1 to 4, 1 to 4. She gave me that time. It was just unexpected. It was something. She never stayed that long when she come. This time it's just different. We sitting in the car, we talking, we doing everything. And at the point, she had a smirk, not a smile. She had a smile and a smirk. And I said, what's the matter? And she said, nothing, Ma. She said, I got my place, but she wasn't smiling like I usually see her smile. She left She gave me a hug that she never gave me before. It was so tight, like she was clung, didn't want to let go. And she whispered in my ear, "Ma, I love you." And it dampened my heart. And I couldn't understand. So she left. As I'm walking across the street, I'm feeling some kind of way. It was heavy. It was so heavy. 9 o'clock Friday night, I called. I said, "Baby, what you doing?" She said, "Mom, I'm still packing my clothes. Tomorrow's the day." I said, "Okay." I said, "Good." I said, "Are you going back out?" She said, "No, Mom, I'm finished packing. When I leave out of here, it'll be Saturday." I said, "Okay." She said, "Ma, is you okay?" I said, "No, is you okay?" However, Saturday come. I'm ready to grab her blankets. I'm ready to wash. And something kept telling me to pick that phone up. For some reason, I could not pick my phone up to call my daughter. It was like heavy weight on me, and I couldn't figure it out. I get a phone call. My phone is on the computer. I get a phone call from my daughter, 2 of my daughters and my son. And some kind of reason, we kept on missing. When I finally got the phone, I spoke to my son. He said, "Ma, what you doing? Are you sitting down?" "Yeah." "No." "Who you there with?" "My husband." "Oh, okay." "Well, Ma, his phone cut off." My daughter clicked in. "Ma, what you doing?" I said, "What's wrong?" So I looked at all 3 of the calls. I said, "Where's my Dominique? Why she's not calling me?" Right then and there, the phone rung back and my son said, "Ma, she got shot." I stood in that room. Okay, I know she up there giving them nurses a hard way to go because she always got to say something or have them laughing. I got to get there. We get out of here. We riding. For some reason, it seemed like he wasn't riding fast enough for me to get to her. I mean, he was just driving, but it seemed like he was taking long ways or whatever. The phone rang. "It's my daughter." "Mom, where you at?" I said, "I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Mommy, 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 mommy." And I'm like, "Come on now." So I threw the phone down. We was a block away from the hospital and my niece called me. And she said, "Auntie, I'm sorry to hear about my cousin Nene. I almost broke loose out of that van. I was in the van about to kick the windows out, about to get out the car. I was trying to get there. Got there, they tried to admit me in the hospital. On my way getting there, my temperature was rising. They kept telling me I couldn't go until they get my pressure down. I passed out on the steps running in the hospital. Then when I got up there, they weren't about me and I'm trying to get to my daughter. Finally got myself together, drunk some water, security and all of them around me. And I'm telling them, "Don't touch me." So when my oldest daughter, she came, she hugged me, my son, my other daughter, and I got numb before I even got there. So as we go up, they roll me in the wheelchair. They told me I couldn't touch my daughter. I said, "This is a dream. This is not true." Get to the room. I knew when I rolled in that room, my daughter was going to turn around and say, "Ma, psych." That was in my mind because this is not true. Get in there, looked at her, tube in her mouth, and she's not moving. Looked at her. The inner me jumped out on my daughter. I felt it because I got real weak. I limped. As they was rolling me, I told them, "No, it's something in the room. It's something in the room. I left something in the room." We get downstairs. I have heavy peoples in my family. They try to hold me down. I was jumping. I don't know what I was jumping for. I was losing it. Get down there and I pulled away from them all. Told them, "Don't touch me." I'm singing, trying to get myself together. I'm laying all on the floor. I'm all over the place. Family getting into arguments. Daughter's stiff. Nobody's moving. Come outside. My oldest sister and my fiance at that time started arguing because she was trying to pull me from him. It was crazy. It was crazy from the beginning of the hospital. It was crazy to the end of my daughter's funeral. It was crazy. But I'm not going to go through all this, but through the funeral, through viewing, through the funeral, I had to run for my daughter's casket. because my oldest daughter felt like she was the mother. She tried to run things, then she was fighting. I kept it moving. Got to the casket before they pulled off. Said my last little words. After the fact of all that, I said, I can't live no more. I have 4 kids. Dominique, my baby girl, my son, baby boy, next to the oldest, and my oldest. And I said, God, I didn't ask a question. I just said, no, not my 3. I got 15 grandkids. There's a reason why I couldn't give up. I went to this see this person on a one-on-one with grieving, and for real, she couldn't help me. You locking me in a room, you talking about meditation. Miss, I can't do this. I would come, but I couldn't do it. And I asked God to help me. I felt lonely, like my family wasn't there for me. I went through it all. But Roberta House called me. I went to church, in church, sang on the choir, Bible study for the young kids, a teacher. I just felt like it was time for me to go. I had no reason to live. I isolated myself. Then when I got the call from Roberta House, I said, I can't do this. Here we go again. And when they called, I went, said I wasn't going to say anything, but I had to release. Because every time I released, but my daughter carried me through back to the parking lot. When we sat there, it was all so real. How she's walking around like down here. It was like out of this world. At the point of all of this, I realized one thing. When I got in Roberta House, they pulled me together. I didn't have a voice, and my daughter told me that in my dreams. I don't have a voice. Speak. It's time for you to speak. I got a little upset first because I'm like, well, I can't talk to the detectives. They playing games. I found out they was lying about this. That is not your part. Let that go. Open up. So when I got to Roberta House, I start feeling my voice. I start feeling it. I didn't want to end the class. I wanted to just stay in that class all night, if I could, to the next day. That's just how I got so close in there. Going through the whole duration of the first class, I met a woman that knew my daughter that used to sit on her steps every day. I met people that knew my daughter. That's good. But I'm like, I still ain't ready. I'm not ready. Oh, I'm not ready. My daughter said, Mom, you ready? And I went on, and I started feeling myself speaking. I'm talking in the classroom, giving hugs, just feeling me again. Through the whole duration of this, I wanted to be on Roberta House just for the learning and teaching, but to share to someone else, because there's no way that a young child of 20 years old can take my child from me. Never I asked the question, God, why? I said, God, just hold me where I can live with my other 3 and my 15 grands. Nobody should go through that pain. I feel like nobody, because who gives that person the right to do what they did? But I had to look again. I ran into my daughter's killer aunt. Never met this woman a day in my life. On the elevator, going to take care of some business. This woman screaming on the elevator, oh, they killed my nephew, they blah, 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 blah. I said, God, what is going on? What do I say? And he said, silence. And I listened to her. But remember, at Roberta House, I said, I forgave the killer of my child. He was pulled in the streets, and the streets got him to give him a title, a name. So I stayed silent. This woman get off the same floor, the 8th floor, and I said a little prayer and gave her my condolence. But as I'm going, I'm starting to feel a little, okay, you're going to be all right. And it's days that I was like Fridays and Saturdays would get me every week. And I said, you better than this. God said, you better than this. I don't ask why. I didn't say how it happened. I just went along with what God giving me strength. So I was like, ooh, I'd be glad when Wednesday heard and get, oh my God, I got to talk to Roberta House. I have a psychiatrist to give me pills to sleep. I sit up 3-4 days. I didn't care. I ain't want to talk to nobody. And then when I talk to him, I get an attitude. God changed me. So while I'm sitting in the room, he's changing me. While I'm waiting for the calls, I'm getting changed because I'm hearing the voices. Everybody's speaking out. I can remember one woman, she was sitting in there and wouldn't say nothing. And after I said what I said, I don't know where it came from, but I said something that must have touched her, because the next day, the next time we had a class, she spoke. She spoke. She let it out. So what I'm saying, that was a sign for me to say, it's time for you to use your voice. And I use my voice because out of everything in this world, death is happening every day. Every day. While I was going through this, I went to 15 funeral robe services. 15. Couldn't understand why I kept going. And different kinds of funerals. To understand, I don't know. Just 2 weeks ago, lost my godmother. Then, just this week, I lost my goddaughter, which is I call her my granddaughter, goddaughter, but she lost her life on 695 in an accident. Somebody hit her, killed her, and her best friend, he survived, even though he got to go through surgery just this week this past. But at the same time, the mother of her told me, please stay by me. Please come to the viewing. Please come, call me. I don't know what I said because it's only God that gives me the words to say. So I got on the phone, called Dr. Tillery. I called my advocates. And after talking to them to give her guidance to come there, because she said she needed it bad. And I told her the experiment, you will get some release. It's not going to be right away. My granddaughter, I had to pull her up from where they had buried because she didn't want to leave. Oh, I go through it. Every week I'm going to a funeral with somebody I know. And if that's my task God gives me, I want my voice to be heard, not to go out here and beat nobody down. I'm on the phone right now, 2 days ago, talking to my sister about her granddaughter. Please talk to my granddaughter. She getting grown. She doing this. And I told her, you put your foot down. So the basis of it is where I wasn't speaking then, I'm speaking now. Because at this point, like Mr. Durrell said, Mr. Harrison said, if we can go out here, we ain't going to change the world. But if we can go out here and show that somebody care, somebody can touch another heart, soul, mind, because the young children are retaliating bad. Don't understand why. I have a granddaughter, 13 years old, on the phone, showing her body. And it came back to me. And I told him to bring her to my house. Right now with my granddaughter, she's doing excellent. No phones, because I took it. And told her mother, don't give her another phone. I'm going to go back to old school. But it's so much anger out here amongst these young kids that got to get a title over their head. They got to be something. This guy, they say his name was Shoot 'em Up. Shoot 'em Up shot my daughter. And I heard some things. Why? Because he wanted to go with her and she didn't want to talk to him. Jealousy. Got 3 grandbabies. She was pregnant when she got killed. And then I end up having another grandbaby, which my oldest daughter, who's keeping my grandson, her baby boy, born the 24th of June and growing just as fast as ever, 15 pounds, 2 months old. Baby look like he ready to walk. So like I told my daughter, he'd been here before because her due date was June the 13th for my daughter's birthday. So when I close my eyes at night and when I open my eyes in the morning, it's only because of God that kept this right, because I felt like killing myself. I couldn't sleep. I was losing weight. Pressure was 200 over 200. They kept telling me I got to go to the hospital. I told them I'm not. I can do this. Lost weight, lost pounds. But look where I'm at now, and I'm still here, still standing, because I asked God one thing. Give me the strength. Give me my voice back. Give me what I need. Because at this point in time, my children's and my grandchildren's need their grandma. I don't have none of that no more. All of them gone. But like you said, when your mother go because of an illness or your father died of an illness, but when somebody take the audacity to take something that's yours, that was mine, all mine. I listen to the phone calls. I look at the text on my birthday when she called me. Mommy, happy birthday. Where you going, lady? And I answered just like she on there. Girl, I don't know where I'm going. And then I look at it and God said, it's okay. It's okay. That's you and her. If you in here and you want to talk, I got memorials all around in my apartment. Yes, I do. But at the end of the day, I don't hurt no more. My strength comes from speaking. It hurts, but it don't hurt. It's because I carry her in my heart. And at the same time, that Friday, that Saturday, every time I ride past the area that I finally went to where she got killed, kneel down and prayed hard. I hear her in my voice. She said, Ma, you're not weak, you're strong. So with carrying that, God is a great God. He gives. He don't make no mistakes. He don't. And nobody will know, never understand if they don't read the Bible, because death is sets around us every day. Every day. But at the end, we're going to be okay, because we got to keep on striving. We got to go out here and do whatever we got to do. That's why I told Roberta House, call me at any given time. I'm for you. I'm here and I'm willing to speak. I'll tell my story over and over until it's time for me to go. But this is what we're here for, to be survivors, to help these people that need help. Because like you said, a governor, the mayor, everybody think it's a joke. And then they might be scared to step out there in the streets. I don't know, but somebody got to do something, because I got a dream. My great-grandmother said we walked a long time for what we want. Well, guess what? We can do the same thing. That's why I say I'm willing to volunteer for Roberta House. It's the best. It's the best.
Thank you so much for your testimony. You all both have some powerful stories, and you've gone through so much. And thank you for being transparent and sharing that with us. And I commend both of you for the work that you're doing, for you carrying on that legacy of your children, and just willing to help others to try to heal or try to get through this. So thank you both so much for joining us tonight and for sharing your story. I'm going to ask, before we go, I'm going to ask Doreen, can you just talk to us a little bit about the impact of homicide on children?
So just as Mr. Durrell was talking earlier about his impact on homicide, our children also have impacts. Their life and their outlook changes when they experience homicide. Sometimes their emotional and psychological emotions change. They get fearful. They may become sad, depressed, have aggressive behaviors. Some children get very angry. They swear, they scream. They refuse to follow directions or instructions. They also experience the post-traumatic stress and have nightmares or unwanted memories of the traumatic experience they may have experienced. The last thing is some children that are exposed to violence learn to resolve their own conflicts in a violent manner. So we have to remember that, and that repeats the cycle of the violence that we see.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And a lot of times people don't really understand or know that children at a young age deal with trauma. They deal with, these situations. And a lot of times we'll say they'll say that a child is bad or that they have ADHD. A lot of times they're misdiagnosed when it's a trauma that they've experienced. And this is how they're processing. They don't know exactly what to say sometimes or what to do. And so they're acting out, but it's because of that trauma they experienced. So thank you for sharing that information. And so that's going to be our Real Talk Live today at Roberta's house. I want to thank each one of you. Thank you, Daryl Hairston, for sharing your story. And can you share with us is the men's conference open to anyone who would like to attend?
Yes, I can send you the Facebook link. It's done by an organization called L&M Foundation. They deal with domestic violence, and I met her along my journey. And I'll send you the Facebook link, and you can share it with them. What was her name? LaShawn?
Miss LaWan.
LaWan. I hope we can get to meet one day. I can bring you the PG, bring you on the show. I'm trying to come to Baltimore, but I really I want to just give you praise to be able to come out and speak. It hasn't even been a year for you. I always ask mother. I met one mother, daughter was killed 90 days ago, and she came on the show. I didn't think she was ready, but she did a good job. You did a wonderful job. You're doing things that I don't even go to funerals no more. I try to remember people as they are. I can't do them too much no more, but because of my line of work, I'm invited to a lot of them, and I try to come, but I let people understand that draws my pain and grief back up. I'm just not ready for it yet. And they're like, well, Daryl, you strong. I see you. Some areas I am, and some areas I'm not. Forgiveness is something I just done. Right. I just gave forgiveness. That's true. That's true. You did an excellent, you're doing wonderful. And like you said, Roberta House is amazing.
Yes, it is.
I met a friend through Roberta House and didn't even know about Roberta House. And then we end up hooking up. She hooked us up together, and she's doing great.
Yes.
Awesome.
And she always talk about Roberta House. And since I've been down there, the people I met, I'm glad to work with y'all. I'm glad to have y'all in PG because I couldn't send people to Baltimore. So
we're glad.
I'm looking forward.
I think Roberta House is an excellent. I brag. I mean, truly brag. Like, it was $1 million to me because to open up the heart that I thought was going to be stuck, it did a lot for me. However, just when Dr. Tillery asked me to do a speech for the first time in front of people out in the street, that was a task for me to do, and I did it. So it opened up me. That's why I say Roberta, oh my God, is amazing. And to tell the story about my daughter, that's my baby. Who cannot?
Oh, she's beautiful.
Who cannot? Just stay quiet. I have to speak.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Daryl, and I hope we'll meet soon.
Keep sharing your message. Thank you, Mr. Daryl. It was awesome. Thank you so much, both of you.
I muted my thing, but I was showing y'all Daryl on my cell phone.
Right.
I got his picture everywhere. That's a picture for his new logo that I'm doing. I'm doing the new logo and buying a new truck so I can put it together and put his logo on there. I don't know how to turn the screen around to show you, but I got his urn and the curio and pictures all throughout the wall of him. My wife just bought some lamps through a company with his picture in it, and it lights up at night when you put the light on.
Wow.
All right, that's how mine is. Yeah, but I hope one day we'll meet soon. I really do, because I'm willing to go out with you and do whatever I have to do.
Yes, we will make sure that we share your contact information with one another. So again, thank you so much for always answering the Roberta's House call. Thank you
No problem at all.
for supporting us. We are glad to know that we are carrying out our mission. And so I just want to share with everyone, thank you for joining us tonight on our Roberta's House Real Talk Live. I send peace and blessings to each one of you. Have a good evening.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Bye.
Thank
Nice meeting
you.
y'all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye-bye.